Hey viewers, welcome to Advotalks Courts Bulletin. I am Siraj and we are going to bring you some important legal developments that took place across India. These are the top stories. The Supreme Court directed all state governments to ensure that mercy petitions in death penalty cases are decided and disposed of at the earliest. The bench at Apex Court passed the direction in a plea by State of Maharashtra challenging a judgment of the Bombay High Court which commuted the death sentences imposed on the accused to a life imprisonment. The Supreme Court of India has urged the Delhi Development Authority to take steps to consider the plight of Jhuggi dwellers from the Sarojini Nagar. The bench commented that it's a humane problem and orally requested the additional SG to make use of his good offices to solve the issue. In the Ram Navami hate speech, Gujarat's Somnath court has issued a bail to the right-wing activist Kajal Hindustani. Earlier, an FIR was lodged and she was arrested by the Gujarat police in connection with the hate speech. The Supreme Court has notified the composition of a 5-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, to hear pleas seeking legal recognition for same-sex marriages. The bench has started hearing the cases from 18th of April. The Supreme Court has set aside a punishment imposed by Punjab and Haryana High Court on a BSF commandant for allegedly allowing trans-border smuggling of drugs. The Apex Court has set aside the judgment on the basis that there was no evidence against the officer. A public interest litigation was filed in the Supreme Court for challenging the appointment of Arun Goyal in the position of Election Commissioner. The PIL appealed on the ground that it is arbitrary and violative of integrity and independence of Election Commission of India and hence in violation of Article 114 and Article 324(2) of the Constitution of India, as well as Section 4 of EC's Conditions of the Service of Election Commissioners and Transaction of Business Act 1991. The NGO Association for Democratic Reforms has filed a petition in the Supreme Court seeking to direct the Election Commission to introduce a paper audit trail system in the electronic voting machines. Through such system, the votes shall be verified by the voters. The National Green Tribunal has recently constituted a joint committee to look into illegal groundwater extraction by more than 500 hotels operating in Delhi's Paharganj area. The Supreme Court has noted that a plaint cannot be refused as per Order 7 of Rule 7 of CPC just because there are some inconsistent statements in the plaint. The bench of Justices Abhay Oka and Rajesh Bindal observed that for dealing with an application under this rule, only the averments made in the plaint and the documents produced along are required to be seen. In the matter of Asaram Bapu's accusation of rape and the conviction ordered, the Supreme Court has approved the special leave appeal which was filed by the state of Rajasthan, challenging the Rajasthan High Court's order in the matter of summoning IPS officer Ajay Lamba. The officer has recorded his evidence as a court witness in relation with Asaram's appeal. In the appeal, Asaram challenged his conviction by lower court in the minor's rape case. In the case of relocation of Ari Kumban, the rogue elephant, from Kerala's Munnar Chinnakanal to Parambi Kulam Tiger Reserve area, the Supreme Court has recently refused the petition filed by the Kerala government in opposition to the orders passed by the Kerala High Court. The rogue elephant had been on a rampage in the Palakkad district of Kerala for several months, killing and injuring people and causing damage to property. The Allahabad High Court has directed the Uttar Pradesh government to recover the compensations paid to rape victims whose behavior was aggressive during the trial and if they turn hostile during the proceedings. The Lucknow bench of the High Court has also told the state government to issue necessary directions to the officers concerned in the matter. The High Court also directed its senior registrar to send a copy of the order to the Chief Secretary for necessary compliance. Remarking that the Goli Maro slogan raised by Union Minister Anurag Thakur and BJP's Parvesh Verma was not in terms of medical prescription. The Supreme Court has issued notices to the Delhi government and the Commissioner of Police in the appeal filed seeking registration of FIRs against them for their alleged hate speech during the protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act. The Supreme Court observed that the lack of jurisdiction of a court to entertain a complaint under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 cannot be a ground to order transfer of the case to another state. The court viewed that a congenital defect of lack of jurisdiction, assuming that it exists, inures to the benefit of the accused and hence it need not be cured at the instance of the accused to his detriment. Nearly 8 years after it began the supervision, the Bombay High Court decided to discontinue monitoring of the 2013 Narendra Dabholkar murder case. The court held no further monitoring was required since the charge sheet has been filed and the trial has also been commenced. The Supreme Court recently observed that the Section 149 of the Indian Penal Code, that is, unlawful assembly, will be attracted even if the specifically named 5 or more persons are facing a trial separately. The central government has filed a new affidavit in the Supreme Court for making all the state governments and union territories as parties to file a petition regarding recognition of same-sex marriage. In a clash of notions on male and female between a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court and the Union government which debated on the same-sex marriage, Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said there was no absolute concept of a man or woman and the postulation was far more complex than categorizing a person according to the born with genitals. The Supreme Court adjourned the hearing of the petitions challenging the scrapping of the 4% OBC quota for Muslims as per Category 2B in Karnataka. The government sought an adjournment and assured the court that no fresh appointments or admissions would be made till the next date of hearing based on the Karnataka's order which scrapped the reservation for Muslims. The Supreme Court has asked government to show reasons for granting remission to the 11 accused in Bilkis Bano gang rape case. The apex court further mentioned that a massacre cannot be compared with a murder. The centre and the Gujarat state government told the Supreme Court that they may file a plea seeking a review of the apex court's order, asking them to be ready with original files on the grant of remission to the convicts. The Delhi High Court said that there was no application of mind in debarring PhD student Lokesh Chugh from taking examinations for a year over his alleged involvement in the disturbance during the on-campus screening of BBC documentary Modi, the India Question. The High Court has sought Delhi University to provide proper reasoning for his debarment. The Supreme Court has ordered all the states and union territories to provide ration cards to the left out migrant laborers and unorganized workers who don't have the card within a period of 3 months. In a major setback to former Congress President Rahul Gandhi, the Sessions Court of Surat has dismissed his plea seeking to stay his conviction in a criminal defamation case. Rahul Gandhi was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, which also led to his disqualification from the Lok Sabha. The Bombay High Court has recently reversed a conviction of a man accused of sexual harassment. The court observed that in sexual crimes against women, a woman's dignity needs to be protected, but sexual crimes should be proved beyond the reasonable doubt. The Punjab and Haryana High Court issued a stay of an order issued by the state government banning the sale and purchase of meat and meat products in the Mata Mansa Devi temple area in the Panchkula district of Haryana state. A Delhi court has sent gangster Lawrence Bishnoi to the custody of the National Investigation Agency for interrogation in a case related to the alleged terror funding to pro-Khalistan outfits. In this application, the agency has sought Bishnoi's custody for 7 days, claiming that he was required to be confronted with an arrested co-accused, Deepak Ranga, in the matter. Recently, the Supreme Court released a daughter who was convicted for more than 12 years in the case of murdering her own father. The senior counsel appearing for the daughter had argued that she was suffering from a mental illness. The Supreme Court's E-Committee organized the first ever Information and Communication Technologies training for visually impaired judicial officers and court staff in regard to digital accessibility. Additionally, Mr. Vaisakamurthy becomes the first lawyer with a visual impairment to clear the AOR exam conducted by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has issued notice to the central and state governments on a public interest litigation filed by Indian Muslims for Progress and Reforms, seeking a uniform and fair compensation policy for mob lynching victims in the country. The Kerala High Court recently held that anticipatory bail pleas moved by persons who are abroad can be entertained by courts in exercise of the discretionary powers conferred on it under Section 438 of the CRPC. In a response to a petition filed by comic Kunal Kamra, which challenged the recent amendments to the Information Technology Act at the Bombay High Court, the central government stated in its affidavit that false and misleading information can adversely impact electoral democracy. The government emphasized that it is equipped with resources to verify fake news, which is not available to the common man, and it is crucial to ensure that authentic information is disseminated to the public. That's all for now. For getting more updates, press the bell icon. Do like and share the videos on our YouTube channel, Advotalks.